What fact is common knowledge to people who work in your field, but almost unknown to the rest of the population? An elevator will go up to the top of the hoist in most catastrophic failures due to the counterweights. Yes, instead of crashing to the floor like in the movies. Most people in a cafe might know this. Coffee shops actually spend more on milk than on coffee. A corporate policy of requiring users to change their passwords every 90 days does not make your system more secure. It tends to actually make things less secure. There is a surprising amount of infrastructure under your feet. You'd be surprised how much public utility runs underneath private property. Always call before you dig. Most people are not good at detecting lies, and consistently score no better than chance, 50/50ths, when tested. The score goes up slightly when it's someone they know that they're talking to, but not much. Ironically, most people rate themselves as very good at detecting lies, but they're wrong. There is no difference between a violin and a fiddle other than how you play it. Heartworms are treatable for dogs, but not for cats. Also, keep on top of your heartworm prevention for your dog. If they get heartworm but you can prove that they've been continually covered, then the heartworm prevention manufacturer will pay for the treatment. That if your IT guy is not busy, he is doing a good job. This doesn't mean he is doing a bad job and you need to fire them. The maximum spacing between spindles in a railing is 4 inches because that's the average size of a baby's head. Most building officials will carry a 4-inch sphere with them when doing inspections on new construction. Touching your fresh tattoo with your unwashed fingers is bad. It's absurd how many times we have to tell this to people. The toner in your printer is plastic being melted onto the paper. Virtually every piece of copper, aluminum, or steel you come across has been chopped to bits, refined, melted down and used to make whatever object it's a part of. Dozens, if not hundreds of times. Copper pipe? Probably started out as hundreds of different wires from various devices from around the world at one point. No one is going to see your website if you don't have a strategy to drive traffic there. For whatever reason, people seem to think if you put something online people are, at best, going to flock to it in droves, or at worst at least stumble across it accidentally. But that's 100% not going to happen. Nobody's just going to stumble on your website. It's like putting a restaurant on the moon, not telling anybody about it then wondering why no one's eating there. There is no such thing as a perfectly functioning aircraft. Every plane you fly on has a multitude of maintenance issues, just not severe enough to affect safety of flight. Rest assured, this is nothing to worry about. Planes are still the safest way to travel. Smiley face. Most 911 calls an ambulance receives on a daily basis are not remotely close to being emergencies. Usually patient transfers. An electrical engineer isn't an electrician. Being a civil attorney. We almost never go to jury trial and the job can be unbelievably boring. There is one best treatment for a child with anxiety. This is treating their parents' anxiety. Nominal pipe diameters are not indicative of their actual diameter. So a 1-inch pipe is rarely actually 1 inch in either outside or inside diameter. Why? I have no idea. But if you drill a hole of exact diameter and stick that pipe in there, you're going to have a bad time. Turning your computer or phone off and on again will fix a solid 70 to 80% of all problems the device likely has. People think that turning off and on again is a joke, but it works most of the time. Being a stockbroker does not mean I know how you can turn $100 into $1 million by next month. Stop texting me. I worked as an insurance adjuster. Most people have no idea what homeowners insurance actually does. Here is a very simple guide to understanding what is covered by homeowners insurance. A sudden and one-time occurrence. While there are some exceptions to this, understanding those few words will help you understand 95% of what is and is not covered by your policy. Just note my experience applies to US insurance only. When you delete a file from your HD, only the information of how to reach these memory slots coherently is deleted. The raw information remains there until overwritten. That's why companies should destroy their disks on decommission instead of just formatting them. There is a period of time every year that in the US, the Department of Transportation pulls over any and every truck that they can. During this period many trucking companies take vacation time, as the potential hassle is not worth the money made during this time. Neurodegenerative diseases, Alzheimer's, Parkinson, starts way before the first symptoms appears. No one wake up suddenly one day with Alzheimer's. From actual data, it seems that the disease is rampant for 10 to 15 years before the first symptoms. Some research say that you can start identifying abnormalities 20 plus years before the memory loss begin. And it works for all neurodegenerative diseases a fake. If you stick your eardrum with an object, you will start to cough. This happens because the nerves interconnect, and vagus. I hope this information helps you in future battles. In jewelry, a diamond is a luxury expense, not an investment. Gold is the investment. If you try to sell your engagement ring, you'll get maybe 20% of what you initially paid for it. Jewelers can get diamonds for a fraction of what you paid for it. In scoring for film, the orchestra/ensemble actually plays the music live as the movie is played behind them. It is recorded and synced. The conductor stands facing the screen and has a small screen in front of them with different colored bars to indicate starting/stopping and pace, as well as other cues and insets. Composers have watched the film beforehand and are often frequent collaborators with certain directors. You would think all the heavily relied upon server infrastructures were super secure and highly redundant. Ha 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 ha. In designing 3D games, many programmers, even in big gaming companies, still have a hell of trouble with colliders, making it so the player doesn't fall through the floor/wall through walls, etc. Everything should work correctly, but no. The solution? God knows. We all just layer dozens of colliders on top of each other and hope for the best. Why do you think there are so many walking through corner glitches? As a chemist, the thing that gets me every time is the "I don't want chemicals in my" statement. Literally everything is a chemical. Karen. You don't defibrillate asystole, flatline cardiac rhythm, like they do on TV. It's a non-shockable rhythm. The essential in essential oils doesn't mean it is essential to your body or health. It basically means that it is the pure essence of that particular plant or flower. So many people have taken this to mean that they are literally essential to our health and well-being. It hurts my brain. Organic foods aren't necessarily grown without chemicals. There's a ton of organic label pesticides out there, many of which are just as toxic as their synthetic counterparts. Not my current field, but when I worked at Starbucks, not a lot of people understood that a larger espresso drink does not always equals more caffeine. A tall drink has 1 shot, grande has 2, and a venti also has 2, unless it's iced and then it gets a 3rd shot. So many times customers would order a grande latte and say, "You know what, you'd better make that a venti, I can use the extra caffeine," when in fact the larger size is just more diluted with milk. If you are looking for more caffeine, a drip coffee is going to be the most bang for your buck. Also, this seems really obvious, but a lot of people would get upset when they ordered a flavored coffee and saw that I would put syrup in it. No, coffee beans do not naturally come in caramel, vanilla, toffee nut, raspberry, etc. flavor. Drowning is silent. I pulled out a kid literally less than a foot away from a large group of adults and not one of them noticed that his head was totally submerged and that he was struggling. How many people actually drive a car before it gets to the dealer? Office copiers cost upwards of $7,000. Some can go for $15,000 to $20,000 depending on print speed and capacity. Having an aircon system that runs all the time but just barely gets you to the temperature you want is more energy efficient than a larger system that turns off and on all of the time, even if it seems like the system is running constantly. Most herbal supplements can and will give you adverse/side effects when mixed with other medications. Always tell your doctor everything you're taking. Not everyone who works in a library is a librarian. Bonus fact, librarians have master's degrees. Just because a disabled child/person is nonverbal, that doesn't necessarily mean they can't understand everything you're saying. It's crazy how often I have to tell my own staff to watch what they're saying. These kids still get embarrassed or upset if you talk about the massive shit they just took right in front of the whole class. Anyone can get an entry-level IT job if you know how to use Google and have an aptitude for learning new things. Only when you get to the analyst positions is it necessary to have a strong foundation of IT knowledge. And programming is something else entirely. I'm a sign language interpreter. This is based off the comments I get from the general hearing population. 1. We do not take care of or help the deaf person. We work for them same as we are working for you. 2. No, I'm not related to this deaf person. I'm not even friends with them. This is relatively well known, but it's not as big a deal as it should be. The severity of the handful of big data breaches we've seen in the past few years, Target, Equifax, etc. That every plastic piece in your car needs a steel mold. These cost in the range from $10 to $250K. When you write to your politician, he won't be reading your letter, he won't be writing the reply. That's all done by staffers. All he does is sign here. As a UX designer in the US, we hate having to localize the text for use in Germany because German words can be ridiculously long compared to most other languages. Potential cancer cells develop in the human body every day. Our immune system efficiently kills them without any trouble, and we just go on living our lives like nothing ever happened. Actors must be 25 years old to be in a beer commercial. This was recently changed to allow celebrities and athletes over 21 to do them, but regular actors still need to be 25 even though in the US the drinking age is 21.